Hello, 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 and welcome back to my channel. This is Lisa, Job Coach Germany, and this is the episode 29 of the Career Coaching Drop-in session already. Wow, okay. So let me at first cover a couple of announcements that I would like to share with you all. And so basically, maybe some of you are also followers of City Starlings, who is a beautiful and really well-written blog about or written by an expat who is living in Munich. And well, Jamie from this website, from this blog, City Starlings, has interviewed me, and we went through 6 different biases about the German labor market and about the Germans and how we're working. So this article is actually live, and you can hop over to her channel to read this article. Maybe there are some interesting facts that you haven't heard of yet. It's Hardy is here. Thanks for joining me. Hi. And and then another surprise. So Jamie is going to be in one of my live videos tomorrow at 2 p.m. So today, or basically in 24 hours, we're having a live here on my channel again, and you can join in case you wanted to ask any questions, because Jamie has a lot of experience because she is an expat from abroad living in Germany. So we're going to talk about her journey, how she came to Germany, and also how she found her job, and what kind of cultural struggles she might have had along her journey. So stay tuned for that. I hope to see a lot of you tomorrow. And if you have any questions for Jamie, just send them to me or join us live tomorrow at 2 p.m. Then another big thing that I'm planning is a masterclass next week. So next week on Thursday in the afternoon at 5 p.m. German time, I am organizing a masterclass on what it actually takes for you to land that spot in the job interview. Okay, so what is important for you to do in order to really get the invite to a job interview? So this is what I'm going to be covering in this 1-hour free masterclass next week. And if you haven't secured a spot for this yet, feel free to click the link in my bio and sign up for this free masterclass. And last but not least, I just wanted to update you on this project that I have been working on, and I've shared with you guys. It's about this book that I'm reading. So it's by Ares, who has written a book about Berlin's immigration secrets. And let me tell you this, there are so many interesting facts and information and links and about his entire journey on starting to settle in Berlin, to be honest. And I'm right on track. My goal is to finish this book by the end of May. And then I will invite Aris to come on one of my lives here so that we can talk about his book. Yeah, so Berlin's Immigration Secrets by Aris Agam. If you are interested in that, just feel free to search for it online on Amazon. You can buy it there, or just talk to me. And if you've been reading along with me, let me know as well, because I'm really interested in about the insights that you have received from this book, because actually this gives a new perspective, another insight in the way of expats moving to Germany, with an expat's eye, basically. And Hossein is here. Hi, thanks very much for joining me. So, and that's all about the announcements. So if you want to check anything or just want to sign up for the masterclass or sign up for the newsletter, click the link in my bio. Last week, we spoke about the certificate of employment and why it is important for us in Germany to have this certificate of employment. And the German term for that is Arbeitszeugnis. Arbeitszeugnis. So that's the certificate of employment, basically. And I explained to you that the Germans, especially in the HR department, when we are screening, because I used to be an HR person screening many applications, this is what we look out for, yeah? So if you see a job ad when it states, please send your complete application documents to this and that email address or upload it here, this complete includes a certificate of employment. And that's what many people are not aware of, especially those who have been working abroad, who have been working in English-speaking countries, who have been working in a country where these certificates of employment are not common or even illegal. And I have experienced that myself when I was working in England. I was not allowed to receive a certificate of employment because it was illegal. Because if this certificate had been written in a not so supportive way, I could have sued the company for making it an obstacle to land a new potential dream job of mine, right? And Zamani is here. Hi, thank you very much, guys, for joining me. If you have any questions regarding the certificate of employment, let me know. Well, and because of this entire story that this certificate of employment is not so common in most other countries, however, it is part of this complete application package here in Germany. Let's talk about today about different alternatives that you can take. Yeah. So, and there have been, or there are many reasons why even the HR staff and HR managers who are screening your application documents have been thinking about coming up with alternatives for certificates of employment. The reason is because, and if you've listened to the episode last week, then you will know that there is a specific code that we are using. And there are so many hearts. Thank you so much for your support. I greatly appreciate that. And so in Germany, you are entitled to receive a certificate of employment once your position ends, once your contract, your work contract is terminated, right? However, so this is basically your right. It's the law that you receive one. But there are two aspects that people that are writing this certificate need to be aware of and need to take in consideration. And that is basically, first of all, it needs to be true. So they are not allowed to lie. And it needs to be benevolent, which basically means it needs to be written in a really good manner with wonderful words and all bloomy, as you would say. But this doesn't really help the potential future employer, the potential future HR manager who is actually receiving your complete application package, right? Because all of the job references that we're getting look quite similar. They look quite the same because obviously the phrasing and the formulations are very typical and very written in a style that is very typical for HR managers to read. And that's why the candidates who are applying for the position don't really show any differences anymore. Yeah. So when I was still working in corporate and I was reading all of these certificates of employment, for example, I would see from the way how it was written, how it was phrased, and Vince is here. Hi, Vince. I could see from the way how it was written whether this employee was a really good employee, scoring mostly the best grades in their job or performing the best, or whether it was written in a satisfactory way. But nothing below that would ever cross the table, because you cannot receive a certificate of employment that has any dissatisfactory phrasing, because that's when you can go to court and sue the company for writing such a bad report. And so basically the content is so strictly regulated that there is no way of flexibility, and it's not really suitable for this particular individual to you. And this is what we're actually looking for, because obviously the HR managers are screening the applications to find a person that is suitable for the position, for the company, and that fits to the team that this person is supposed to work in the future. It is Wednesday. I see Lisa. Today is a good day. Oh, Vince, you made my day. Thank you so much for joining me here. You are always a constant here. So it's a great day for me too, because I see you here online. Thank you. So again and again, employees in one department were or are receiving the same job reference, because that's just how it is phrased. Yeah, if all of the employees are working great, well, then they're using the same phrases, they're using the same wording. The only things that are changing is the duration, how long this employee has been working there, or basically the name, the name of the employee. Yeah, but how is that individual? How is a future employer supposed to find out whether you as an individual are now the right fit for this particular position that you are applying for? This is really weird. It's not authentic at all. And obviously, yeah, it's basically a waste of time for everybody, and it doesn't really help for you to stand out amongst other applicants. And that's why even HR managers are thinking, maybe we should consider alternatives that are out there. And this is what we're talking about today. So what could be reasons why you cannot get a certificate of employment? So first of all, it could be that you have been fired and you're not on good terms with your previous employer, and it's just simply really uncomfortable for you to ask for a job certificate. Let me tell you this, you still can get a job certificate, but however, if you've been fired for something that you did wrong, then obviously this certificate may be written just in a satisfactory manner, and this doesn't really help you stand out from others, right? And Anko is here. Hi, thank you for joining me. And well, then maybe you have only been with that company for a short time. So basically you have found out during the probationary period that it's just simply not a great fit. Yeah, so what are you doing then? If you've only been there for 2 months, for example, it doesn't really make sense to get a certificate of employment in this case. Yeah, so you and your supervisor agree to, well, it doesn't really make sense to get a job certificate here. Or, for example, and this is the most common part, or that's the most typical part in a working journey, is when you are applying and your employer that you're working with right now doesn't know about it and is not supposed to know about that, because obviously it could be a little bit suspicious if you go to your employer and say, oh, I want to have an interim report, and then this HR person says, why do you want to have an interim report now after 8 years? You've never wanted one. This is a little bit suspicious. You are not leaving us, are you? So, and that's when an alternative comes in very handy, right? Very typical is also if you are applying for a job, but you've been working as a freelancer or you were self-employed before, and you can just not simply write a job certificate for yourself. As I mentioned before, you have been working in a country where it's not your statutory right to receive a certificate of employment. Yeah, and this is the most that I come across. When I'm working with my clients, I ask them, okay, so what about the certificate of employment? Do you normally work with contact references? Because this is what is very typical, right? When you look at the CV or the resume, you normally have this little section where it says contact references, and then you have 3 people and 3 phone numbers. But again, German HR managers are not going to call these numbers. Yeah, in really, really rare situations, these HR managers are willing to call another person, another company, to ask how you worked. Yeah, so especially if they know, okay, you put this name down, so this person is definitely going to talk just really, really well of you. Yeah, so, and in all of these cases, it's really hard to either get a certificate of employment, or just really, maybe you're not aware of it. And that is not really helpful, because then you cannot submit a complete application package, right? And you need this complete application package. Otherwise, it might be possible that your application will not be screened at all. Yeah. And let me tell you this, even in Germany, the Germans are a little bit uncomfortable when it comes to actually demanding their certificate of employment, because sometimes you just end the contract or the work relationship not on good terms, or you just want to leave, you're annoyed, you've been working with this company and felt not satisfied for quite some time. However, it is it shows us HR people who are recruiting, who are looking and screening your job application documents, it shows us your commitment. It shows us your commitment towards your career. It shows us your commitment towards this position. Because if you don't make sure that you get this certificate of employment, then how can we know that you are making sure to meet the deadline of this project? Why is your career not your highest priority? So this is what some of the HR managers are thinking, which is why when we are, for example, asking for a complete set of application documents, and there are no certificates in there, it needs to be explained at some point, because otherwise we will think, okay, so did this person, what did this person do? They can tell us anything about where and how they have worked, but however, we don't have proof. We need proof, and this certificate of employment is proof. So let's dive right into the different alternatives. So job reference alternatives for the application could be first of all, job description, an honest assessment, an employee review, references and letters of recommendations, or testimonials. And now let's get a little bit more into detail about these different aspects. So this is what I recommend most of my clients to, first of all, get the job description from your job that you're doing right now, or from the job that you've just done before. Yeah, if you currently don't have a job, then make sure even when you're starting a new position, whenever you're starting a new job and whenever you're working, make a list of all of the different tasks that you're doing, make a list of all of the different projects that you're working on, make a list of all of the different responsibilities that you've had, because sometimes people are working in companies for 10, 20 years or even longer, and they have forgotten about all of the different projects they had been working over these years, because obviously you go to work, you do your job, and then you go back home, and then a couple of years later, you might have switched the position a little bit, and then it doesn't really match up with your job description anymore. This is actually just a side note here. This is especially very important as well when you want to negotiate your salary. Yeah, write down all of your tasks, every single thing. It only takes maybe 5 minutes per week, but block this time in your calendar to write down the tasks that you have done. And if there are no new tasks, well, then you're done after a minute, after checking that. Yeah, at least do it once a month to really make sure, is that still what I'm doing? Or do I need to talk to my supervisor? Is that something that could add to my job description? Is that something that could add to my certificate of employment? Or is that something that you could add in case you are writing your own certificate of employment? Because some people do that as well. Sometimes employers ask the employee, okay, you want to have a certificate of employment, please write it yourself. I'll take a look at it. I'll revise it then, but I don't want to write it from scratch. So this is happening as well. And with a job description, you have a huge advantage, because it's very helpful to focus on your individual activity and not on all of the other activities of your colleagues in the same department, for example. It also gives an insight in your responsibilities that you've had, yeah? And it makes clear, so this job description makes clear what your strengths are, where your strengths lie. And basically what is here very important is to stay focused on the projects and the successes that you've had. Yeah, so write that down. And I know that many of my American followers here, they have learned how to write really, really good CVs and really good and well-phrased resumes. And they are always talking about what they have accomplished. Yeah, and this is really helpful. Germans still are a little bit reserved with regards to that. And we can come a little bit more out of our shell and just take the example of the Americans, how proud they are of their achievements. And this is what Germans still need to learn a lot more. However, this is what I'm saying. So take your job description, adjust it, and always have a list where you are writing down what your individual tasks are. And then at the end of your work contract, at the termination of your work relationship, you can then take this list and let it signed by your let it get signed by your supervisor, your manager, or the head of the department, for example, because then obviously it's a valid document that your HR manager of the potential future employer can get and can take a look at, right? So another thing that might be very helpful is the honest assessment. And this is when you are in very close relationship or contact communication with your supervisor, okay? Because this honest assessment is written by your supervisor. And it's basically an alternative that is quite unusual, but that's why it stands out. That's why you have a huge advantage compared to all of the other applicants, right? And ask your supervisor for an honest assessment. And here the disadvantage is that you need to rely on your supervisor, that this person is phrasing it nicely, and that this person actually takes the time and effort to write this benevolently for you, okay? But the advantage of this honest assessment is basically that it is written by a person that you are working with very closely. So it is written by a supervisor, and it does not have to adhere to all of the regulations and rules and formal rules and legal regulations of a certificate of employment, for example. Yeah, and it is extremely authentic and believable. And if a future HR manager who is screening your job application documents sees that, you definitely stand out. Because this is a lot more worth than just having a generic certificate of employment that all of the other colleagues in your department also receive. Yeah, so think about that. Think about your relationship to your ex-boss, and ask him or her for an honest assessment. And then you have definitely an advantage compared to other applicants once you are sending your complete application package. Then the third part was employee reviews. So this is especially interesting and important for all of you guys who have executive positions. Yeah, so for executives in particular, these employee reviews are very, very helpful. It basically provides evidence that you have shown leadership qualities, leadership behavior. Yeah. And you could also use other evaluations or feedback from an assessment center or something like 360 degrees feedbacks. This can be used to achieve the same result, yeah, to a similar result. You just need to make sure that you are really satisfied with this feedback, with this review, yeah. Here, you need to be really, really careful that you don't share any confidential information about the company. So anything, because obviously you always have a confidentiality agreement with your company, right? And there are certain there's certain data that you're not supposed to share. So be very careful with these sensitive subjects, and make sure not to include that. Yeah, but take a look at the employee reviews that you've had, and this is what you could use as an alternative for a certificate of employment as well. Yeah, and I've actually had one. Sometimes, I mean, for example, a 360-degree feedback can be received for any kind of employee. You don't have to be an executive at this point. However, you still need to make sure that it makes sense. Typically, you always want to receive a feedback that is, yeah, phrased in a formal and positive manner. And it's really a feedback should, however, so that it's not biased, it should be secret, right? So you shouldn't really know where or who said these things about you. And this is sometimes a little bit tricky, because that's what I've seen in one of my former jobs. There was an employee who received a 360-degree feedback, and this employee only asked people that the employee was friends with after work, and that was all sorts of people, but people that this person was not really directly working with. Yeah, but so be very careful, because otherwise it might be that also the recruiter might think, oh yeah, okay, well, this is just a bunch of friends writing a review about this person, so this doesn't really make sense. But a feedback in general that you are really happy with, this is what you can share. Yeah. Then the references and letters of recommendation. So standard today, these are standard today, especially in the English speaking countries, right? That you have references, so reference contacts. And nowadays you can also get references in Germany in addition to these certificates of employment. Yeah, and Banana Split is here again as well. I just love your name. Every time when I see you, it just makes a smile on my face. Banana Split, hi, thanks for joining. So, and basically, you can have a letter of recommendation, and then you should also provide the name or the email address of this person. Yeah. However, here again, this is only an addition to your certificate of employment. So be really careful, especially in the German-speaking world. For everybody that is applying for a company outside of Germany, obviously, contact references are still the way to go. This is still the standard. And then last but not least, there are testimonials. So, and testimonials is actually a term that comes from products and services, and it's a language that is used in advertising, and it basically is an approval of a product that you've probably bought. Yeah, so for example, you can see that on the back of a book, for example, yeah, or when you go to a bookshop and you're buying a book, and sometimes the employees of this bookstore write little testimonies about it and just clip it on the book. I especially like that, to be honest. And also, if you are, for example, using a service and you're a very satisfied customer, then you're writing a testimonial as well. For example, me being self-employed and working as a coach, whenever I'm working with my clients, I ask for testimonials as well. So this is what you can find on my website, right? You can find it on my website. I include it in social media as well, so that you can get a feeling of, okay, what did other people that were working with me really get out of this coaching? Yeah, and this is what testimonials are actually for. And now you need to think about, if you don't have a certificate of employment, maybe you are a freelancer or you are self-employed, then these testimonials can be very helpful for you. So collect all of these, and they are especially then helpful if you want to switch back from your freelancer career or from working in the working with customers in general. Yeah, this can really help you to land that dream job of yours if you save these testimonials and share them with the potential future employer, the HR manager who is screening your application documents. Here it is especially very important that you are using obviously just positive quotes, but with a full name. So you need the first name and the family name, and then it works like a reference, right? And obviously, it's even more helpful if you find someone who can give you a testimonial that has an important name within the industry that you're working in. Yeah. So, and you can actually see these testimonials not only in a self-employed context, and not only for people who have their own website or on social media, for example. You can see that on your own profile when you go on LinkedIn. So this is how, so whenever you are working with a customer, or it could be an external customer, it could be an internal customer, depending on the role that you have and depending on the job that you are doing, it basically just open your eyes and be open for the situation to ask for a testimonial, right? And you could also go in exchange. You could say, okay, I give you a testimonial, maybe you can give me a testimonial as well. This obviously doesn't really work when you're just doing that with your friends and when you're doing that with your colleagues from university, for example. This is not really authentic because obviously everybody's just writing good stuff about you. But in your work life, once you're working with people who can actually give a great testimonial about you, a recommendation, this is a specific section on your LinkedIn profile. Go for it, okay? So try to think about people that you've been working with lately, and then go into exchange, go in and talk to them and ask them, okay, I would like to just upgrade my LinkedIn profile. And for this, I'm currently in the process of collecting testimonials, and I'm willing to write you a testimonial as well, because we've been working together and I really like the way how we work with one another, and we achieved so much with our project, right? And this is what is really helpful for you guys. So now we have had 2 episodes covering everything about the certificate of employment. Last episode was about the certificate of employment in general, and today I talked about the alternatives, which is really, really helpful for you guys. Yeah, it's really helpful to learn about these alternatives, because these alternatives will help you, especially if you are from a country where certificates of employment are not common or even illegal. Yeah, like I have experienced before. So, and then City Starlings is here. Hi, Jamie. Jamie, at the beginning of this session, I talked to the followers here that you are joining me tomorrow. So all of you joining me and watching this video today, Jamie is joining me tomorrow on this channel. So, and we are talking about her experience as an expat living in Germany. So I'm really, really excited. Stay tuned, guys, and I see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye and have a lovely day.